Almost every family has some kind of cookie recipe that's been passed down from generation to generation. In my family, the cookie recipe that's been passed down is our famous cake mix cookie recipe. And the ingredients for the recipe is 1 stick of butter, which we have right here, 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese, which is just a lot of cream cheese, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 box of 18.25-ounce cake mix, which is right here. And you also need powdered sugar to roll the dough in once you've already made it. The first step of the process is to make sure that your cream cheese and your stick of butter are softened. Make sure you don't melt them, but that they're soft enough to mix in the bowl. And you want to make sure that you mix them in a separate bowl than the bowl that the cake mix is already in. If you need to make sure that they're softened, you can put them in the microwave for a little bit. But make sure you watch them and they don't melt. Now that our cream cheese and butter is softened, you want to add the egg to the mixture with a bowl of solids. Make sure you don't add it to the powdered stuff because you're not going to mix that into that yet. Now that you've added your egg, you want to mix it with a fork. You just want to kind of break the egg and make sure that it's kind of distributed. And mash the butter and the cream cheese around a little bit. And then you want to get your 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract in there. So you put your 1 teaspoon. And then once you put that in there, you want to get a mixer out because you really need to mix that vanilla extract in to the egg and the other stuff because they help the cookie to rise and it spreads the flavor throughout the cookie. Now that you've thoroughly mixed in your vanilla extract to all of your solid ingredients, the egg, the cream cheese, and the butter, you want to add them to the cake mix. And now you want to mix in the ingredients with the cake mix and make sure that you mix it until there's not any large lumps. Also, you need to be sure not to start out on a really high speed because then the powder will just fly everywhere. Okay. Now that the dough is thoroughly mixed, you want to cover it with saran wrap and put it in the fridge for 20 minutes. This helps the cookie to not rise and spread out as much. It just rises in one area, so it makes a thicker, more gooey cookie. Now once again, you want to make sure that you put saran wrap over your cookie dough because it'll get really dried out in the fridge, and you need to make sure that it's all kind of in one lump because if it's spread out on the bowl, it'll get really, really dried out, and you don't want that to happen at all because then your cookies aren't good. And then you just put it in the fridge for 20 minutes. Now that your dough is cooled for about 20 minutes, you can make it more than 20 minutes, but the least amount of time that you need to have in there is 20 minutes. It's time to put the dough on the cookie sheet. And so you need a cookie sheet with wax paper on it before you put the cookie dough down. And you want to measure out your wax paper and make sure that it's just the length of the pan because if it sticks out, it's really hard to put it in the oven with the cookies on. And you want to make sure that each cookie is 1 tablespoon sized. That's when you put it in a tablespoon, like this, and you flatten it down and take off the edges. And then you take your ball of dough and you roll it, and then you put it in powdered sugar, and you roll it around until it's covered in powdered sugar. Your hands are going to get really dirty when you do this because the dough sticks to you really bad. And then you want to set them on the cookie sheet and make sure that they're all at least 2 inches apart. Before you roll all the dough in powdered sugar, you need to make sure that you preheat your oven to 350. And then once you're done, you put the cookies in and set a timer for 8 minutes. It's really supposed to be 10 minutes, but I put 8 minutes just so that they're extra gooey. Now that your cookies are baked, you can let them sit and cool for about 5 minutes, and then they should be like hardened and solid, and then you can eat them. And you can make all sorts of cookies with this recipe because there's all sorts of cake mixes, like you can make lemon cookies and stuff like that, because I personally like the red velvet cookies the best. And I hope you guys will try out my family recipe of cake mix cookies.